welcome to Switchbox TV in association with Triller. We have got just one of my heroes, to be honest. We've got David, the Haymaker Haye, who is literally coming up to his 20 years almost fight. This is his debut fight.
I turned professional in 2002. Yeah, so getting close to 20 years in the game.
Bloody hell, mate! I'm sorry to make you feel old straight away, mate. But how's it going? How are you? Where are you in the world?
I'm good. I'm in Mexico currently. Obviously, the fight's taking place in the United States, and as such, this sort of quarantine protocol you have to go through. So I had to do a couple of weeks, unfortunately, in Mexico before I get into America. So I made sure I found something very nice, and I'm sort of got my head down, grafting away, and it's been nice. The weather's been really nice, food's good, culture. You know, it's a big boxing country, Mexico. So there's lots of boxing fans everywhere, and it's been nice. I've been enjoying myself, trying to enjoy myself as much as I can, as it's been obviously many years since I've been in any type of form of real training camp. I train every day anyway as a human being to be healthy, but to structure a training camp, I had sort of 4 or 5 weeks. I had preparation for this encounter with Joe Fournier on September 11th. So I've had to really turn it up, training twice a day, getting your massage, sorting your nutrition out, just getting back into the old rhythm. And it's been fun. I've really
Is it good to get back into that rhythm? Because obviously, like, I suppose this was announced a few months ago, and is it just, have you kind of, obviously, because you've been managing Derek Chisora and you've been kind of doing all other fighters, you've been watching them. Was it kind of when you were looking at them going, you know what, I wish I was doing what they're doing right now again?
No, a lot of people ask me that question, and it's not the case. I've walked to the ring before into packed out arenas, obviously with Derek Chisora, whilst I was managing him. I've been in training camp, not physically doing the training myself, but I've been in the training camp with the weight training, with the sparring, the physio appointments. I've been there, but it's not been for me. And I know how hard it is because I've been there before, and I was never really envious. I was never really envious of what Derek was doing, training, fighting, the accolades of winning fights and just getting up there in these big pay-per-view events. And you said that this has been on the card, so it's literally been 1 month since it was brought up. To me, this has been 1 month. So I've had 1 month of some sort of training camp. It's not been a full 12, 15-week training camp, but I'm going through the motions of what a training camp would be like. And the mental side of it was, it's going to be so hard, it's going to be grueling, and it has been, but I've actually enjoyed it. I train every day. I've always trained up an hour a day anyway, but when you really step it up and your body's tired, your body's aching, you need the massage, your muscles are cramping up, and you've got to get the fluid in, and I enjoy it because it reminds me of when I was younger.
Yeah, but is it harder now you're older?
Yeah.
It's definitely harder. Takes another hour extra,
It takes a little longer to recover. And one thing I've realized over the years, and it's been a fine balance, is, how hard do you hit it every day? I could go to the gym and do 100% full out like I used to do 10 years ago, and it will wreck my body for a week if I don't get injured. So now you sort of train 80% as hard as you possibly can. And you're able then to train the following day at 80% again. And then the day after that at 80% again. And slowly but surely your 80% volume gradually gets more and more to what it would have been if you'd have just done 100% from day one. So there's ways to kind of trick your body to do more training. You got to adjust the volume load, the recovery time, your food, your nutrients. There's quite a lot of science involved training the optimal way, but it's been fun. It's been something completely new that came out of the blue, and it's like, okay, let's do this thing. Let's just get in there and get in the ring and do what
and back in front of a crowd, mate. How does that feel? Obviously, the year we've had. How does it feel to be back in front of a crowd? First of all, even without that year, for you haven't been in front of a crowd fighting since Tony Bellew. So, it kind of really hasn't, I suppose it hasn't really altered it for you this last year, but, do you still feel the excitement of fans coming to watch you now, like in the sense of because you understand that they haven't been able to go and see fights?
Unfortunately, British fans are not going to be able to come and turn up to this next fight. It's the quarantine regulation. Unless they want to do 2 weeks somewhere, chances of them being able to get into America are very, very slim. Even people with work visas can't get into America. It's the England and America sort of borders are not really syncing at the moment. So the time myself and Joe fight is super early in the card. It's like 4 p.m. I believe is on the card, and the main card for the Americans start later. So I don't anticipate that many people being in the venue, to be brutally honest. It's not like I'm walking out there into the O2 Arena. I believe I'm not 100% sure, but I believe the venue has changed from the Staples Center in Los Angeles to a smaller casino, maybe 5,000 or 6,000 people in Florida, in Miami, in Hollywood. So it's all up in the air. As long as there's a ring, as long as there's someone throwing punches at me, as long as the cameras are rolling.
But it's great for the UK fans, because if you're early on the card, it's not
that's why I believe they've put on my fight so early to cater for the British fans. So I think it goes out around 11 p.m. UK time, which is the usual time that a big event. My last few fights in the UK have been, all of my fights have been in the UK around 11 p.m.
Cool. We're talking. So Joe Fournier. I think what's really interesting for me on this is that you're fighting a friend. He's a friend, isn't he? He's someone that you've known for a long time, and I'm just kind of thinking about the mindset of that. Have you ever fought a friend before? I mean, in a sense of like, you've probably become friends with the boxers that you fought previously in your career after the fight, but have you ever fought as someone that you've actually are friends with before? And how?
Lots of times you fight people who you train with a lot of the time. Particularly when you're on the England team, you fight people who are in and around your way. Audie Harrison was my roommate since I was 17 on the international England setup, and then we've been friends throughout his career, my career. Then I'm the heavyweight champion, he's European champion. Now we've got to fight each other. We're still friends. We visit him in Los Angeles. We basically had a vacation in the Philippines together, so we're still friends.
Nice.
And I think it's the same. I don't think it's that much different from when two tennis players play each other. You got the Serena and Venus Williams. They play each other at tennis, and they're trying as hard as they can. Obviously, no one's trying to give each other brain damage. And the art of boxing is to hit without being hit. And strangely, because there's a danger element that you can hurt the other person, people seem to think friends can't do that with each other. But just go to any gym around the world, put two friends in the ring with each other, and you're going to see the egos start to pop out. You're going to see, some real intensity. And sometimes some of the best and most toe-to-toe gym spars have been friends, have been boxing colleagues who work their way up together because they're trying to prove against the other one who's better. They're friends, but okay, put your friends to the side and let's go to work. Let's work. So it's not the psychology of it isn't a factor, not for me, not for.
So there's no point in.
I played Joe at basketball. He's he was an international level basketball player, and he didn't take it easy on me. I was trying my best to beat him. I couldn't. He was a better basketball player than me, and he just beat me pretty easy. And that was that. He wasn't taking it easier because we're friends versus someone else off the street who doesn't know. Your best is your best. Usain Bolt doesn't run any slower because he might have been running against his stablemate or his running partner. You just do what you do.
So you won't have that kind of. You can see that the right hand or left hand just going to literally land. You've got that opportunity. There'll be no hesitation on
no, you can't in boxing. You can't. It's like trying to, if you're an Olympic lifter, try and do a clean and press at half speed. How's that going to work out? You're going to drop the weight in your head. You can either do. I've trained to do things in a certain speed and a certain way, and you can't change it all of a sudden. It doesn't work that way. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to getting in there. I'm looking forward to taking some shots, dishing out some shots, and as I said, giving Joe a boxing education.
So talking about Joe, I mean, you're talking about boxing education there, because he's been in the gym with you for many a year, hasn't he, almost? And
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you've been kind of giving him tips, and I imagine throughout the years about, you know, what he could be doing to improve his training, what he could be doing this and that. Is that playing your favor? Because theoretically, you're basically fighting what you've been teaching.
Yeah. It's a strange one. I've taught him as much as I feel he could. Just different times we talk about everything from footwork to what foods to eat, to, you know, rhythms, timing, training philosophies. You know, how I train is different to how he trains. We've got different body types, different strengths. So, you know, I've never in once ever thought there was a slight remote chance that I'd ever be in a ring with him. You know, I was retired from boxing. You know, a lot of the stuff we talked was since I retired, or when I was training for my last couple of fights, he was in the gym with me the whole time, and he would actually spar with me at the beginning of my training camps. I always used to get fast sort of super middleweights, light heavyweights, just to get my rhythm and timing, and just to get used to getting hit. And you rather get used to getting hit by a super middleweight or light heavyweight than a massive heavyweight. So I always got smaller guys to get my time and get my rhythm. He had some success from time to time. You know, I wasn't going guns blazing. I was sparring. I was practicing. You know, if I'm going to get hit, I'd rather get hit by a small guy to practice rolling play. If he's trying to shot here, you kind of half let it come through just to get your time and to get your neck strong, get your rhythm. You know, so he was that guy. So I'm pretty sure in his mind, he's had a lot of success. So he probably gets a lot of his confidence from the fact that he's done well when he sparred with me. And I get that. Pardon?
Did he hurt you back in the day?
He's never hurt me. I felt his power. You know, I think he bloodied up my nose one time. He caught me with a shot and it busted my nose a little bit. I mean, I think that's his claim to fame, you know. So, but that's boxing. That's part of boxing. You can't go swimming and not expect to get wet. So I can see where his confidence comes from. He's been training consistently. I haven't. Well, I've been training, but I haven't done boxing. I've purposely not done boxing training since I retired because I didn't want to get the bug that I feel like I've got now. I don't want that feeling that I've got now, which is I feel really good. I feel like everything's healed up now. I feel like, okay, that's the feeling I've got now. And this is what I didn't want. But I'm here now, and I'm like, oh my God, let me just go through let me see how it feels on the night.
Yeah.
And then I'll know. I know how I feel physically, you know, but I felt good going into the Tony Bellew fights. I felt really good. I was super confident that I was going to win both of those fights.
Yeah.
And it didn't happen for me, you know. So feeling good in training versus feeling good in the fight, there's not that much correlation. You know, so I'm not going to get too excited. I'm not going to try to get everybody else too excited about it either. You know, if I go out there and I can't do what I need to do and I'm getting beaten up and got cut and I get dropped, and it's like, no, okay, maybe 100% that my time is
done.
But it would be nice to get back in there.
Yeah, Joe. I mean, we spoke to Joe yesterday. Not to give you too much insight of what he said, but you know, a lot of it is about making you move around a lot around the ring because it's about your body.
Yeah, he's studied obviously my last couple of fights, and if you study my last couple of fights versus 5-6 years prior to that, there's two different people. There's a different rhythm. My feet move differently. My reflexes are very different. My punch evasion isn't as good as I've got older. Is that down to reflex? Is that down to injuries? Is that down to just Tony Bellew being way better than I thought he was, or people think he is? There's loads of different elements that determine, you know, what happens in the fight, and it's the unknown factor. It's the unknown factor. I get where Joe's coming from, and he's got nothing really to lose. Really, if you think about it, he doesn't get anything got to lose. He's like, okay, he gets flattened in 30 seconds, and he's like, well, he's the former heavyweight champion of the world. You know, he went Klitschko. I've been in there with some of the biggest names, and on paper, there's no reason why. You know, if you forget about my injuries, forget I've been retired, just look at our records. His biggest accolade is being the WBA international champion, been ranked number 10 in the world. It's an official rank. That's as high as he's been. You know, that is, if you look at my opponents, you know, that wouldn't ordinarily ever get someone in the ring with me in the past. So I get why he's just going, forget, let's just do it. Let's just have a go. What's the worst could happen? He gets flattened. That's it.
It kind of leads me on to my next question, because a lot of kind of the UK fans here don't know who Joe Fournier is, or haven't seen him in the ring, on a big TV. And obviously, we're working with Triller here, and Triller two fights ago had the Jake Paul as their headline. Now, without kind of sounding disrespectful, because I know that Joe is actually a professionally trained boxer, is there? I mean, Jake Paul did well in his last kind of fight or so, last two fights now. But is there a similarity, kind of talking about levels of ability with Joe and Jake Paul? Is it around the same level, or is Joe much above that?
Joe's a professional boxer. He's been doing it significantly longer than Jake Paul. He's sparred with real boxers. I consider it's like completely different levels. One's a professional boxer, and for instance, Jake Paul hasn't boxed a professional boxer yet. He boxed a basketball player, an MMA fighter, and a YouTube guy. So whereas Joe's fought, I think, nine pro fights, and they were all professional boxers. The records weren't great, but it was all professional. They'd only ever done professional boxing. So this is.
So there's that kind of comparison, in your opinion?
It's not really a comparison.
Yeah. So, like, as I said at the beginning of the interview, you're one of my kind of heroes from going back about 10 years ago. But I think one of the memories that I've got, sporting memories of my life, was Nikolai Valuev, mate.
That's 12 years ago.
12 years. Yeah. And do you know what? Like, I always was going to ask, do you get nervous going into a ring even now? But if you fought Nikolai Valuev and you look at that man and you can go in a ring with him and fight him, can you get nervous anymore? Or is it? I mean, like, thinking back.
No, I don't really get. I haven't really got the traditional sense of what you'd consider nerves for. Probably since I was like 15, 16. You kind of, because I've been doing this. I've been competing since I was a little kid, and maybe a couple of days before the fight or the day before the fight, maybe you feel a little flutter in your stomach when you think about it. But then I've learned to understand that your body plays tricks on you. Nerves, they're controllable. You control your nerves, and having the feeling of nerves so far before the fight actually lessens your chances of winning, as it just burns unnecessary energy and gets you thinking about stuff that you've got no control over. So I've realized that you can control your nerves if you've done it a lot. And I'm able to, if I do feel the sense of nerves, I know, okay, that's nerves. All it's doing is using energy for 2 or 3 days' time. Let's turn it off. Let's change my mindset to something else. And then you don't have those feelings. Just take your brain away from thinking about what could happen in the fight, whether it's good or bad or whatever. Thinking about it 3 days before the fight isn't going to help you do it, because it's a reactive sport. You go out there and you can have a preset bunch of things you want to do, but if the other guy just moves around and doesn't let you do them, it's irrelevant. You've got to kind of figure it out in there as you're going. So nerves, I've never really been an issue.
Because we spoke to Michael Hunter, the US heavyweight. He was talking to me about when Deontay Wilder, it's about the technical nuances. He said if Deontay Wilder became an all-round better boxer, he would become an easier opponent, because he's named for that one punch. He was saying that the most scary thing about fighting someone like that is that one punch. I suppose kind of my question for you on that is first of all, do you agree that if you've got that kind of one element in your boxing that is devastating, like the Wilder punch, like the Joseph Parker, maybe the technical side of the way he fights his fights, the tactical side, should you try and develop your game? And this is kind of a question for kind of young.
I know exactly what you're saying. Would Nassim Hamid have been successful if he would have put his hands up, putting it in a traditional sense? The answer is I don't believe so. I believe different people. If Michael Johnson wouldn't have ran with his back up in the air and just learned a technique like everyone else, would he have ran faster? I don't think so. If I would have had a different style, I believe everyone has their strengths, and their strength sometimes comes from particularly in boxing, being unorthodox. If everybody trains with people who hold their hands like this, then everyone's practiced to get hit by someone from this hand position. So once someone drops their hands to a new position they're not used to, they're not practiced at defending from that new position. It's like a southpaw. Why are southpaws so tricky? Because there's so few southpaws, whereas southpaws only train and spar with orthodox fighters. So they're more comfortable with the orthodox style in front of them versus an orthodox fighter with a southpaw in front of them. It's just what you're used to. And Wilder I've sparred with Wilder. He's very awkward. He's hard to hit clean. Yeah. And the punches to come at you from different angles. They don't normally come from traditional hands up, 1-2. He wings them around the houses. So where you're used to blocking a shot here, it will come around and hit you here. That's his power. So if I was him, I wouldn't try to make himself any more traditional. I think his awkward style, it might not be that aesthetically pleasing to the purists. Yeah, but he started boxing so late. Why try to compete with other people's style who've been doing it much longer than him? He'll always come on second best. Use his natural attributes, which is speed, power, athleticism. He's got very good reflexes, and he's just really heavy-handed. So he's got Malik Scott in his corner now, who's a great teacher of the game. You know, I've known Malik Scott. You know, he's helped me out in sparring in the past. Yeah. And, you know, I think it's a nice combination. I'm really looking forward to the third fight, the trilogy.
Yeah, I know. I mean, because obviously you kind of caused some controversy. Well, not controversy about the kind of Usyk Joshua prediction, and you know, I'm pretty much in the same mindset as you about that fight. But kind of thinking about that Fury Wilder, I mean, people just think it's a foregone conclusion. That's not. It's never a foregone conclusion, is it?
No, it's not a foregone conclusion. You know, we never know what happens prior to fights. You know, you can't judge someone on their worst night. It's hard to judge someone on the worst night. If you've had, you know, it's like Floyd Mayweather having a fight and then just not performing because he hasn't had a real fight for many, many years. It's hard to then say, I'll tell you what, he's terrible. I know he's no good. No, you can't say that, you know, and what everyone deserves a bad night. You know, I remember Tyson Fury had a bad night against John McDermott many, many years ago. You know, a lot of people thought, you know, it could have went either way, that fight. And John McDermott hasn't showed to be world class moving forward. So do you judge him? Do you go back to that and judge him on that performance? No, it was a bad night at the office. He did it again and done it better. And I think, you know, writing someone like Deontay Wilder off or writing someone like Anthony Joshua off after he lost to Usyk, after he lost to Andy Ruiz Jr., you can't, you know, you're looking at those two performances. One, he looked terrible. The other one, he looked amazing. So which one is it? You know, and we've just come off a terrible performance from Wilder. Let's wait and see how he responds in his rematch before you start, you know, saying he's a waste of time. And I've heard some people saying, he should retire. But what? Like, what are you talking about? Now, people, particularly boxing people, for some reason, can't wait to have a fighter retire. And then they do retire, and they then complain that they retired. I remember people saying,
come back.
Other people saying after Prince Nassim Hamid lost to Marc Antonio Barrera, I should retire. Like, he lost a points decision against one of the greatest ever Mexican fighters ever. Why not have a rematch? But he might have listened to the fans, because he had one fight after that, won on points, and then he retired. So I guarantee every single one of those fans who wished he retired would have wished he'd carried on, given him more great nights. I think he was 28 when he retired.
Yeah.
You know, I think he had another 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Look, you still got these fighters like Manny Pacquiao still fighting today at 42. You know,
and he was sad.
Competing against young, current, active champions. You know, I definitely feel a fighter should go out when he feels his time's best and not really listen to the crowd and the haters, because, you know, people have said so many times different fighters should come back.
I don't want to keep you too long, David, so I'll wrap up. There's an amazing fact, obviously, that I don't know if you're aware of, but if Holyfield is confirmed to be the headline fighter,
amazing.
You and him share something. Do you know that? You and Evander Holyfield share something. You are the only two boxers in the world to have unified the cruiserweight and then gone on to become heavyweight champion of the world. Yeah. It's only you and Evander Holyfield that's done that.
And there could be 3 if Usyk somehow finds a way to beat Anthony Joshua. in September. So it's an interesting one. I believe me and Evander Holyfield will remain the only two. But you know, Holyfield has been a massive inspiration to me over the years. He was a guy that let me know it is possible. You know, you don't have to be the biggest fighter, you know, to be able to pull off these amazing victories. And you know, Holyfield's heart, his dedication, the fact that he fought the best he could ever fight. You know, his fights with Riddick Bowe, Lennox Lewis. Watch the Lennox Lewis fights. There wasn't much in it, you know. Watch the second fight with Lennox Lewis. He's a great fighter. The Mike Tyson fights, you know, even his cruiserweight, like his cruiserweight campaign is he's just a Bert Cooper and Quad Mohammed. It's just non-stop action, and he's just and whenever I see him, with friends, whenever I see him, I'm like, it's the real deal. It's the real deal. He's still the real deal. He's so the real deal. He's still got 50, whatever. How old is he now?
Late 50s. Must be late 50s.
He's still now ready to jump back in the ring. Listen, come on. If that's not the real deal, I don't know what is. Honestly, he's just natural born. You know, a pound of prime Holyfield, just a pound of that prime. What other fighter could beat a pound of that? A pound of what other fighter could beat? So a lot of fighters, their strength comes from their size, or they've got some, you know, but he's just so in every sense, the chin, the power, the speed, the heart. It's just like, if he's a computer game, prime Holyfield, if he's a computer game, it'd be everyone, you know. The stats are just, it's a joke.
So is it a real honor to be on the same card as Holyfield?
Evander Holyfield, yeah, that's it. I can't wait to see him. Yeah, he's like one of my heroes. I've been right some random nights out with him, been bowling with him, and you know, we was out in Grozny, Chechnya together. Went shopping in Chechnya, buying some clothes. He's just a great guy. The whole time, I'm like, it's Holyfield. It's a man, the real deal Holyfield. He's like when you're a kid. It must be like a kid when when you see. I see him the same way as I see, like, I don't know, Sylvester Stallone or Arnold Schwarzenegger, where the people you've grown up to, looking up to, like. But he did it he's the real deal. He wasn't acting. He was doing it for real. Like George Foreman. He's been in it with son, and so the fact that he's gonna grace us with his presence on the night, I'm really looking forward to that.
And who wins that fight? Who wins? What's your prediction for Holyfield versus?
No matter what, Holyfield wins. No matter what, you know, he wins no matter what. He's the real deal. He's coming in late 50s on a week's notice.
He
can't lose. He can't lose. It's everybody's winning.
You mentioned him just last two. You mentioned him just then. I just saw online. I don't know. You can just quash these rumors immediately if you want to. But there was talks of post this fight and everything like that. You mentioned Lennox Lewis. I read an article about you having an exhibition. Is that something you'd love to get into the ring with Lennox and have that on soil?
I'd love to see me in the ring in the exhibition with all of those guys. You got Lennox, Holyfield, George Foreman now, 87. No, you don't want to hurt any of these guys. It's just, you know, it must be like someone wanting to play or having a sprint with, I don't know, Linford Christie. Someone like, you know, when you've looked up to someone, you want to have a move around with them, and takes just to feel the power. You want to feel it. It's not going to be what it was, but you can still say you've been punched in the face by Evander Holyfield. It's like, that's just amazing. Having a one-on-one with Michael Jordan. Who wouldn't want a one-on-one with Michael Jordan? He's not prime Michael Jordan, but who wouldn't want it? You know, yeah. Just, it's not about what happens when in there. It's just about just being in there with these guys. It's
as a promoter, you and Lennox would be Wembley Stadium material. I mean, even if being an exhibition, that you think how much the UK public loved yourself and loved Lennox. Mate, you and Lennox, Wembley Stadium next year. Should we book it?
Have a chat with him. Lennox is. I've stayed with him in Jamaica, in Montego Bay, He seems out of all the heavyweights over the years that I've met, he seems the one who is the most happiest in retirement. You know, he went out on his own terms. You know, he realized, you know, okay, I've done it all. That all that's going to happen is the same that happens to every single heavyweight champion. Is they just keep going until there's a younger, fresher guy who might not be more technically skilled than you, might not have better fundamentals, but he's just younger and fresher, and you're older and more injured, and it's just after a while, it's just inevitable. So he was one of the fighters who realized, okay, he ain't getting any better, and everyone else is catching up. Let me go out. He's beat every single man, Lennox Lewis, he's ever faced. The only two blemishes, Oliver McCall and Hasim Rahman, he avenged them both. Even he went to the Olympics, lost to Tyrell Biggs in the Olympics in '84, goes back '88, gets the gold.
Yeah. You
can't question them credentials. It's the most perfect boxing career, in my opinion, of any heavyweight. And he fought every man other than Riddick Bowe, but Riddick Bowe didn't want to fight him. He fought everybody else in his era. And that's it. It's just a perfect career. It's just a perfect career. So I've always looked at Lennox as like the poster boy about how to do it right. And I don't think anybody else is ever going to be able to do what he's done, because I think he's just better than so many people. And he's Lennox Lewis. Even the fact of just even talking about it, I ain't never going to happen.
Oh, mate, please make it happen.
No, you can't, mate. That's another thing as well. It almost sometimes feels disrespectful mentioning my name with their names.
Oh, no, don't. No. Now you're just...
No, it does. It feels a bit like, then it sounds like I'm trying to call out some retired, somebody calling out George Foreman. It's like, it's a bit weird, David. What's wrong with you? Surely you want to call out someone your own age. No,
when's Frank Bruno happening, mate? Is that
exactly? It's like we call it. It's that same thing. It's like, if someone says, okay, do you want to have an exhibition with Holyfield? It's like, of course. Yeah. Why would I not want to do that? Get in there, move around with him, and just feel some of the magic. Yeah. Also,
is there any chance that this fight, you go into it with Joe, and you get that buzz, and you actually see, because obviously the thing is, you were talking about earlier on about how when you're in a fight, it's very different to when you're training and things like that. When you're in the fight with Joe, and if you get, there will be a chance that you might get that feeling. Hang on, I can still do this. Like, in the sense of in top level, I can still. And you probably still think you have to have that mindset. You can, but if there's that click, is there a possible? Right? Do you know what? This is not exhibition anymore. This is going.
It'll be hard. It'll be hard for me to have an exhibition with Joe Fournier and then think all of a sudden I can beat Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury.
Yeah.
What I'm not sure I can learn enough in that about myself in that one fight to then go jump to that.
Yeah.
No, but maybe I don't know. If there's an exhibition with Joe, then maybe an exhibition with somebody else who my size, heavyweight or something. I don't know. Just maybe something else like that. And then Holyfield or so. I don't know.
Yeah.
How about if Holyfield looks absolutely $1 million?
Oh, mate, he'll be next to fight Fury, won't he?
That's how boxing works. That's how boxing works. It's crazy. It's crazy to think that somebody in an advanced age as he is still physically. Because I've seen pictures of him recently. I follow him on Instagram. It's like it's very, very inspirational. I'm 40, and people consider me to be in good shape for a 40-year-old. How about him in his late 50s? He looks as good shape as I do. Don't look any worse than I do. It's like, how does he do it? He's made of different stuff. Is that like greatness stuff. You can just that mean, steely, forever just. And
I'm looking at last night's kebab now, thinking I'm way off your level. Just last question for you: what if you were in Joe Fournier's corner for the fight on September the 11th? Yeah. What would your last piece of advice to Joe Fournier to beat you? What would it be?
I don't know, maybe put a load of, I hope you've put that Tabasco sauce all over your gloves before we've been in the change room. That's about it. We getting blinded is the only kind of way he's got a chance, to be honest.
Hey, what's the fight and the obligatory fight prediction? What is it, mate?
A clear, outclassed. I'm hoping it's going to be. I'm genuinely hoping it's going to be as competitive as Joe says it's going to be. I really do. Because if it is, it'll be entertaining. It'll be very entertaining if it is. So that's what
you won't hesitate for the first round.
Boxing is about entertainment. You know, particularly an exhibition bout, particularly this type of thing. You got the music, you got acts, you got the whole razzmatazz. You're bringing back some living legends. Hopefully, it's about entertainment. So I'm just hoping it entertains as best it can.
And do you kind of pro the Triller? Just on that, are you pro the Triller? Kind of the waves they're making in the boxing industry.
Yeah,
entertainment to it.
Yeah, they're doing things that no one else has done. No one else has really thought about doing. Bringing, Justin Bieber, Snoop Dogg, bringing these mega stars into it, bringing a new audience with the YouTube stars into the boxing. That's brought a massive young insurgents into the boxing game. It just brings new eyeballs. Boxing had, there's lots of boxing purists, but they're not growing that much. If anything, a lot of them are dying. So they're a lot older. So this is Triller bringing a whole new demographic. They've got verses as well, where you got the rap battles against each other. Swiss Beats doing his thing, and this is what the new kids are consuming their media via their phone, via apps, and this is exactly what this is. So they can consume their boxing in smaller, bite-sized portions for them to keep it growing, for them to pay for this fight, pay for that music event, to be on board. And it's the way I just see it. It's the natural evolution of boxing.
Brilliant, mate. Thank you so much for your time, man. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I have. Have a great camp and wish you all the best of luck, mate, for the fight on September the 11th. You're a superstar.
Thanks a lot, bro.
Hero. Take care, dude. Have a good one.
Bye.